Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome to the final video from the group stage. We have one battle left, the Spanish versus the Russians. The Russians haven't done very well. They have lost every single match so far. The Spanish have done a little better, and I bet they'd like another victory. So let's see if they can get that one over the Russians. Join me for this fight, as after this one, it's on to the semi-finals. Last fight from the B pool, the Belarus class. One more time against the Pedro Ximenez from the Spain. The Spaniards. I'm sorry. We have 12.6s in one corner with a torpedo launcher. The Russians also carrying torpedo launchers. You don't see those, but they have them. And 15-inch guns. But the Russians, well, they're a bit of a unique breed in this particular layout. They only got forward-facing firepower. And with the battle so far, we haven't exactly seen that work out very well. Sometimes it works, but it seems to be more of an accident than an actual plan. The AI will close the distance. And depending on the foe that you have, you can get burned down before you can actually get there. So the Spanish torpedoes, sorry, the Russian torpedoes not that likely to do a whole lot of damage. The Russians, however, are very good at closing the distance or keeping things at range at 39 knots. Sadly, the AI does nothing with that speed. All they do is close the distance. And as they do so, well, what are you going to do with all that speed? Once you're in the enemy's face, what are you going to do? Because your armor isn't that good. 7-inch forebelt, 7-inch aft belt, sure, that will work. But if I had designed a ship that was forward-facing, and the AI would actually use it as such, I would armor up the forebelt, the foredeck, the conning tower and the superstructure, the high heavens, and basically ignore everything else on the stern. If you can make sure that the enemy doesn't hit you on the stern, that is. Now the Spanish seem to be struggling with their rate of fire, as I'm looking at it. These 12.6-inch guns are fast firing. There we go. There's the Spanish volley. We're just trading armor piercing for now. The problem that the Russian ships also have is crew. Not that they don't have a crew. They got a standard crew complement, but the crew is only trained at regular levels. Which means that the accuracy is, well, basically at this range, dog shit. The chance for them actually hitting something at this range, it's about 1 in 20, about 1 in 25. And considering your rate of fire is 35 seconds, you're going to have to spend a lot of time firing if you want to land even one shot. The Spanish can afford to miss more. And if they... Oh, there we go. All this talk about accuracy. And the Stavropol goes, yeah, sure, but now I'm going to hit something. The Spanish can afford to hit, or can afford to miss more shells. That's nice with the sun in the background. But once they start landing shell after shell after shell, it's not uncommon for the Spanish, much like the Austro-Hungarians, to burn you down. 12.6, pretty decent high explosive shell. You're going to be in trouble. At this range, yeah, bow, stern, main deck for the Russian ships is off limits. 11.6-inch main deck armor plus 152. You won't pen that. You're going to struggle with that. In reverse, it seems that the Russians have managed to pen once on the foredeck, so they can definitely do that again. It was an overpen even, so they got too much pen going in there. The type of armor-piercing shells that they are using is capped. So it's not massive AP, in the sense that it's these things that tend to ricochet a whole lot more than they do damage. But they have potentially too much punch. And as such, might not work that well. The Spanish are going to be able to get into torpedo range, I think, about now. Yeah, 11 kilometers. So we're not quite there yet. I'm seeing the Russian 8-inch guns go off. Sadly for the Russians, it's very little. It's one 8-inch gun on the side, a few on the stern, but they are not actually able to be brought to bear. They're more so that, I guess, the Russian ships can still do something with their firepower, even if they're forced to turn away. These main guns, as we're closing to 13 kilometers, are getting a lot more accurate now. Which could be problems for the Spanish. The Spanish armor, yeah, sort of. They can kind of take the hits. It's partial pens for now. But that capped ballistic, yeah, there we go, is not going to wait much longer. That was a standard pen, not an over pen, 1200 damage. The problem that I do see happening here is that the Spanish are very quickly going to burn down one of the Russian ships. So this right here is when the Russians should start getting kills. If the Russians wait or do not manage to kill off a Spanish ship quickly, then the Spanish have a lot more chance of burning down one of the Russian ships. And it does seem like the Russians are getting it done. They have scored 3.7k damage. The Spanish have done nothing. 49 damage. And yeah, bow and stern can get penned. Superstructure can get penned. It's going to be a question of when exactly do the Spanish switch to high explosive. And I kind of expect to see that pretty soon. Oh, you're broadside on to 15-inch guns. Oh, you got away lucky there. You got away lucky there. That hit the main deck and the main belt. Had it hit the fore belt or the stern belt, that would have been a lot more damage. Yep, you're getting away pretty lucky. The Spanish still firing armor piercing? That's rather unexpected. Look at that salvo. Whoa. The Spanish are starting to inflict some damage now. Looks like we're going to get one big Spanish get-together. As all ships are trying to change formation. If the Russians shoot now, they'll hit something, one way or another. What's the Vladivostok doing? Did you do some sort of weird turn or something? Look at where this thing came from. They're not even line abreast, they're line ahead. That's weird. Now, where's that wounded ship? Ooh. Are you trying to combine your ships into a one big catamaran or something? Nope. I'm not sure why there's shells splashed over there. Look at all these lines. We're seeing different weapon systems trying to hit different ships. This one's getting ignored. The wounded one mostly getting ignored. And the middle ship now taking all the fire. Stavropol is starting to feel the wrath of the Spanish. But the damage is very minimal. It's really not that bad. There's another salvo, but it's only half of one. It's just 4 shells. It's not that bad. Like they're doing range finding, because they once again swapped their target. Well, a bit of it. The Spanish still firing armor piercing? At this range, 7.8 kilometers? Interesting. Ooh, the Spanish shells are getting through. 200 damage. 127, 131. Russians have some flooding going on. Can they handle that? Anti-flood 3, maximum bulkheads? Yeah, they probably can. Incoming torpedo. Torpedoes, in fact. That is the Spanish send-off gift. And the Russians, anti-torp 3, double hull bottom, should be able to take those. But for the Russians, I'm very concerned about the fact that all ships are now going to try and turn around. They're going to try and dodge the torpedoes. Which means no more 15-inch guns. Oh boy, Belarus might be broadside onto all of these torpedoes. Unless they turn real sharply now, they're going to get a very nasty Spanish gift delivered. Come on, floor it, and you might be able to get out of here. That's 22-inch. That's a sizable torpedo. This one is gone. And the Belarus is turning hard. Vladivostok is so far behind. But it's turning nonetheless. And, well, is just fighting with her 8-inch gun. She's done absolutely nothing. The damage has come out of Stavropol and Belarus. And Stavropol isn't exactly doing a whole lot of damage at the moment. Belarus overcorrecting on her turn. With this much speed, she should be fine, but she almost turned back into the torpedo and was at risk of catching another one. The Russians were doing very well. If the Spanish would just switch to incendiary. But they got soft cap shells. Huh. So at 9-kilometer range, let's round that up to 10. You got 8.5 inches of pen with HE. That is dangerous. Superstructures, even with this level of armor, generally don't like that. And if your ship's already taken damage from armor piercing and the armor's been weakened, then you can take a lot of damage from high explosive. Fortunately, it's just armor piercing that's coming in. But Stavropol, flooding badly. With a standard crew, you can lose about, I think, 15-16% of your crew when it's trying to affect the ship now. Her control is reducing. Ship is tilting over. Seemingly not even trying to get the main guns to fire at the target. Are they turning? No, they're not. Belarus ramming the Stavropol. That's poor seamanship right there. Stavropol was not maneuverable, but the Belarus was. So there's not really an excuse there. Finally, the Vladivostok might do something useful. Our 15-inchers, pretty decently locked on target now. But they really need to start taking down one of these ships. If they don't, then the Spanish are just going to rip them apart one by one. And it looks like they're about to get their first victim. Stavropol down to 3% buoyancy. 2%. 1.8. And she's gone. So, the Russians had a good start. And then, I think, partly due to maneuvering, target switching, and definitely their layout of the guns, they're now messing up. Now, can they pen this ship if they hit it? I think this angle is going to make it very difficult for them. Main belt? Well, if they even hit it at all, I mean... What the hell? What are you trying to hit? That was 2 kilometers over? That's bad. Really bad. Yeah, we're just not seeing a whole lot of result from the 8-inchers either. Oh boy. Damage to main tower. Spanish armor piercing at 12.6 inch. Generally not that good, but it's cap ballistic too. So at this range, yeah, you're going to be able to pen the bow. Even if the ship is angled. And that's only for the Pedro. The Jupiter and Principe, they will be able to pen the side in some positions. Belarus sending out another half a salvo and got nothing to show for it. This is not going to end well for the Russians. And I think the Spanish are pretty much giving them a break. Had the Spanish picked HE, this would have been over a long time ago. Their rate of fire, 32 seconds. These guys, 35? Yeah. So it's pretty even. What if the Russians had picked high explosive? High cap. The Russians might have taken down the Spanish ship from afar. If they'd focused all of that forward... Where are you going? If they'd focused all of that forward-facing firepower, put HE in the barrels, and just try and burn down with the Spanish. Right now they're getting away very, very well. Especially since the Spanish are not even using their torpedoes. Only the Pedro launched its torps, or her torps. The other ones haven't even tried. But the AI is just messing with the Russian formation and the Russian maneuvers so much that most of the time, I don't know, the Russians aren't even firing. Not their mains anyway. They might, however, be able to take down the Pedro over there. They're now switching to high explosive? Not the Vladivostok. Vladivostok firing armor piercing. 1.84 degree per second turning circle. That's a very, very, very slow turret rotation. If they're even turning. Are their turrets stuck? Wow, Belarus is getting ripped apart here. This battlecruiser. Damaged rudder. Oh! That's a bad way to go. Can we catch that on? Anybody seen a quadruple turret? I guess it already came down. Yeah. If the Vladivostok is not even going to be bothering to fire. I mean, this ship has been a disgrace to the Russian Navy. She's not done anything. Her total damage output is 700 points out of 6.6k. I'm not sure what this ship has been doing. But she was late to the party. She maneuvered a whole lot. She's firing half salvos as she switches target all the time. I don't know. Are we going to see a redemption arc here? Hold on. You launched a torpedo at the Pedro. Interesting. Could be good. You pen? You're getting penned, that's for sure. Yeah, that's not really what you need. You need more like 2,500 points of damage per shell. Because the Spanish aren't going to be waiting around. And once again, they switched fire to the Jupiter this time. Is the Pedro aware of a torpedo problem? Maybe. She has sonar 1. These Russian torpedoes are very sneaky, so I think the Spanish might not know. Which means the Pedro Ximenez... It's going to be a close call. She's trying to turn to starboard, which will reduce her speed. 21.3, 21, 20.7, 20.5. I think she'll be fine. I think she'll be fine. It's going to come to a close call, but she'll live. Now, Vladivostok has finally upped her act, and her turret. Oh boy. She was doing better. I mean, now she's done 3.5k. Now she's finally contributed her part, but it's a bit late. It's a bit late. And the Pedro Ximenez, despite her injuries, is still fighting. Jupiter and Principe not sending torpedoes. They have the perfect opportunity. Vladivostok is somewhat unpredictable because she's constantly turning. But, well, she doesn't really get a whole lot of options because her rudder is stuck. So I guess in that sense she is kind of predictable. The Russians only have 50 high explosive shells left. That is it. Because their main turret, well, their A turret, took a lot of the ammunition with it as it went up. Torpedo. There were 3. I already saw one of them go off. The Spanish with anti-torp 3 should be able to handle that. And there she goes. It's not even an issue for the Spanish. The Vladivostok goes down. 3-0 to the Spanish. I do think the Russians got hit by some bug every now and then. Especially if Vladivostok was doing all sorts of weird shit and sometimes just refused to fire. Not sure why. She did. And, well, even if she did fire, I don't think the Russians would have won that. So, an unfortunate but somewhat predictable outcome for the Russians. They just didn't do that well over the whole tournament. And unfortunately, this seals the deal. The Spanish get the point, meaning that the Russians have lost every single match that they've taken part in. This also means that Austria-Hungary and China are set to advance to the next stage. The United Kingdom and the United States also set to advance. So, we're going to end the group stage here. And that means we're going to move to the final stage. So it's going to be the United Kingdom versus China. It's going to be Austro-Hungarian versus the US. I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how this is going to go. This is going to be really interesting to see. If the Austro-Hungarians lose to the US, then the US still has to beat the UK, which so far they have not been able to do. So it's going to be anybody's guess who's going to make it into the finals. Let me know down below in the comments what you think is going to be the final outcome. For now though, hope you guys are enjoying it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon for the next battle.